Hi guys, it's Carrie here. Welcome to my second ever YouTube video step-by-step painting tutorial. Excited to paint with you again today. I thought with it being October, maybe we should do something a little on theme, something that could add to your Halloween decor. And today what I want to do is walk you through the painting for a fun sugar skull. Something kind of like this. Check it out. This was a magnet I got at the store. I feel like I see this particular design everywhere. We're not going to copy it. We don't want to copy here. We want to create. Creating with Carrie. Anyway, so I'm going to teach you how to paint the skull, and then we'll add some fun flourishes to it, but you can definitely customize a lot here. Add your own little special touches, pick your own color schemes, just do what works for you, what maybe goes with the rest of your decor in terms of color. I just think there's a lot of both strong design but also wiggle room with this one, so you can't really go too wrong. So I think it's gonna be really fun to paint today together. First time doing something sort of on theme with the month here. Maybe it'll be something I do once a month in the future, do something that kind of goes with the season. Again, I'm not going to copy this one. There's so many great sugar skulls out there. If you just Google sugar skull and Day of the Dead, Dia De Los Muertos, you'll see lots of wonderful, wonderful designs, art inspired by Mexican culture. I love it. I've always loved Day of the Dead stuff. I'm so excited to paint that kind of thing with you here today. So let me get you started. The idea is to do step-by-step easy painting tutorials, paint and sip at home, paint and sip for introverts or people who want to have just your friends over, not go out and with a bunch of people you don't know. Maybe you can just put this on the TV for just you and your friends. So that's kind of, the idea of what I'm doing here, hoping that will work well for you. If you want to know more about the supplies, go see one of my previous videos. I did, I kind of cut one of my videos apart and just did the part on the supplies as a separate video so that you could just go back to that for reference if you want to know more. But real quick, I'll show you. The paint set that we're using is this Winsor & Newton one. And I think it's pretty awesome. It has a really great range of colors, just about everything you could need. Maybe a pure black might be nice, might be necessary. Sometimes it doesn't have that. It has a raw umber though. Raw umber is a pretty dark brown, and you can make it almost black by adding a little blue and green and stuff to it. So I can show you that later if we need it. Otherwise, yeah, beautiful colors, especially for this painting. I think it's everything we're gonna need. I've already laid my colors out on my palette. Let me show you. My palette's always kind of a mess. Lots of dried paint because I'm lazy and I don't really see the point of cleaning it when it's just going to get dirty again. But there you can see all the colors out in that set except that raw umber, which I can put out later when I want to mix and kind of make a real nice black color by mixing it with some blues and greens and stuff. But we'll do that later because I don't want to just mix it and have it dry out right away. So I think sometimes when you're mixing things, it's strategic to wait right until time to do that step. So there you go. I've got acrylic paints. That's the kind, in case I forgot to say that. My water cup, old mug, a little bit of water. 3 brushes, small, medium, and large. I like the big flats for the big and the medium, and then the little pointy round for the small. Sometimes it's helpful to have a couple of these mediums. I've got a couple laying around here too, so I might use more than one, just because it's nice to not have to switch so much when you're, using a bunch of different colors. Have one per color if you even want to go wild and have lots of brushes. But if you're on a budget, you're just starting out, this is all you need. Small, medium, large. And how do you figure out what's small, medium, and large? Well, it's proportionate to the canvas you're gonna paint, right? So this brush here is nice and big for this canvas. It might be small on a giant canvas, or if I was doing one of those teeny tiny canvases, it would be way too big, right? This medium brush might be a small brush if I was doing a large painting. This could be almost a medium if I was doing one of those like teeny tiny portrait paintings that you see some people do that are kind of fun. Anyway, so kind of just get a feel for it. Depending on the size of the canvas you pick, you can pick any size canvas you want. I decided to go for a square format today. I just thought that'd be fun with the skull, but feel free to do whichever you want. You can go vertical, you can go horizontal. If you go horizontal with this one, you're gonna have a lot of extra room on the sides, so you have to fill that up with maybe some fun designs and stuff, but you can absolutely do that. So brushes, palette, paints, water cup mug, and I just have an old rag over here handy for me to kind of wipe brushes on or catch drips, that kind of thing. Yeah, canvas, something to lean it on. You don't even have to have an easel. You can just pile up some books on your kitchen table if you need to. Whatever works. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get started painting. So without further ado, let's get started painting this fun sugar skull for Dia De Los Muertos, Day of the Dead, all those October spooky vibes. So our first step is going to be to draw this baby. So I'm going to pull my brushes to the side, cup down here, and I'm going to take my medium brush. My medium brush often ends up being my mixing brush too. I'll show you what I mean by that. I want to get kind of a light yellow color to draw, something that's still light enough that I can easily cover it with white later, white for the skull that is, but something also that shows up when we can see. So notice I took a little my cad yellow and my white, mixed it up, kind of this really nice light cream yellow. So it's putting my medium brush aside, switching to my small brush, my round brush. I'm gonna get some of that on my brush now, and then we're gonna start drawing this out. So I try not to have too many drawing steps in the paintings I do here, you know, that way it's not too boring and intimidating at first. But this one, we just kind of got to get it drawn to start. So what I'm doing is I'm making a circle, sort of perfect circle, but not perfect at all, right? It doesn't have to be, it just has to look like a circle. Just try to not make it an oval or egg shape. Notice I don't care if my lines are kind of messy, and I'm going over them a couple times just to make sure I like the shape. I am putting that circle kind of at the top of my canvas here, but not too far. I want to definitely give it some room, some space to breathe at the top. So just, you know, find the middle, go up a little. That's where you put your circle, center it. Again, we're doing that skull shape. See, something like that. So first, the circle. And then hopefully you guys can see it okay with that yellow. Again, I didn't want it to be too bright, but I wanted you to be able to see it. And then here is the best, easiest way to draw out the skull. So I am putting a dot right in the center of my circle, about where I think is the center anyway. I'm going to make a line, halfway line. Helps me remember where things go. You'll see. Half. Okay, so now I've cut that. Now I want to cut it again in another half, or making quarters, but only at the bottom. I don't need to do it in the top half of my circle. I just want to cut this bottom half in half again to make a couple quarters. So it doesn't have to be exact, but you know, kind of just bring my brush down, make a dot where it feels like about halfway down from the middle of the circle down to its furthest bottom edge. Made a dot, and then I continue a line over. So there we go. Looking like some kind of funny basketball or pokeball or something right now, but that's not what we're drawing. But having that half line, quarter line, that's really, really going to help me. And now from that quarter line, check this out. I want to make a box, almost a perfect square, and I'm going to have it start just in from the sides a little bit. There's no exact measurement here. If you're not sure, it's probably always better to err on smaller, like making it come in, because you can always make it bigger, go out. Same thing with the circle. You're not sure how big you want the skull or where the circle should go, make it a little smaller, because you can always later be like, I think I want it to be just a little bit bigger. So that's no big deal. This too, to be honest, the reason I picked this light color, like I said, is because we can paint over it so easily. So worst comes to worst, you hate it, it's not going your way, paint some white over it, give it 5 minutes to dry, start again. It's never the end. You never have to worry about total failure with painting. You just create more layers. There's never fails, there's just layers. So anyway, I am drawing a couple lines down, and then where it starts to feel like a square more than a rectangle, I kind of close it off, make a box. Yeah, I think so. I think that's about right. Now I'm feeling like mine's maybe going to be a little too skinny for this skull shape I have going. So now Like I said, better to err on smaller and make it bigger later. I'm just gonna widen this a little bit, add a couple extra lines there. Maybe bring this down a teeny tiny bit to compensate. By the way, every once in a while I have to dip my brush into the water, kind of keep it flowing, keep the acrylic paint from drying on my brush as I'm going. So circle, couple lines to divide the space, square. Kind of look for where you think about halfway is should line up with these dots too, right? Halfway along this bottom line, I make myself a little dot, and then I just sort of hover my brush down maybe half an inch. Again, that's going to be proportionate to how big your canvas is. If you got a bigger canvas, that'll be a bigger space. But just a little way, gave myself a dot, and then I'm going to take this corner, go down, connect, then come up, connect to this corner. So I'm making a triangle. It's kind of a shallow triangle. I don't want it to be really long and pointy. In fact, I think I might need to make it a little bit more shallow, something like that. But there you go. That's going to be kind of the chin shape. Don't worry, we're going to kind of soften and make this look a little more natural soon. But for now, that gets us started on a decent skull shape. All right, so now with that bigger shape of the skull, the overall shape in, next we can come in and kind of roughly show where the eyes and nose and mouth are going to be. And then that way we just have like a sense of it, a little line, and we can go back later to define that some more, but we just sort of want to save our spaces here a little bit. So here's the trick for where the nose is. Remember this dot that was the halfway point of that very first line we did, the middle of that circle? Well, you want to find that. You want to go down directly to the same spot halfway across, but on the 1/4 line down here. And that is going to be the top of the nose. And you know what the nose shape is? It's just a heart upside down. Pretty cool, right? And that's not the best heart in the world. If you're like me and sometimes you need some tricks to help you out, the trick is turn your canvas upside down, draw a little heart, connect the bottom point to that point on the line, the 1/4 line, and that is an excellent spot for the nose. And that's all I need to do right now. I'm just sort of reminding myself where it goes. I'm not worried about making a perfect shape. And there we go. Flipping it back over. I know where the nose is now, yay. And next we can do the eyes. Now the eyes are gonna be kind of between these two lines. Part of why I had you draw them, making life easy, hopefully, on yourself. Just for now, just do circles. We'll come in, we'll kind of enhance the shape, make it look a little bit more like the eye cavity that it really is. Make them a little bigger later. But for right now, notice I'm just leaving a little bit of space. I've got the nose shape in the center, and I'm just sort of going over the side, making a circle between that 1/2 line and that 1/4 line within my original circle to remind myself that that is where the eyes are gonna go. And that's all I gotta do for now. Then, finally, without further ado, the teeth. They're gonna be kind of fun and creepy, right? Because you're gonna see all the teeth in the skull. They end about where this line is. The line that was the bottom of our square just before the triangle. That's where the teeth are gonna end. And I'm just gonna draw another line. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm just slightly curving it because I'm probably gonna give my skull a little bit of a smile. All I'm doing is a slightly curved line on top, drawing lines down to connect it to that bottom line. And again, it's just a reminder for me where the teeth are gonna go. So there you have it. All your major drawing points are done. They're there. Now we're gonna go ahead and do a background color and let that dry a little bit, and then we can come in and work with it some more. So this is a good chance to kind of analyze it too and be like, am I happy with the size? Am I happy with the shape? Personally, I have a little bit too much space down here, I think. But you know what? I can fill this up with some flowers. It's not going to bug me. I just am going to remember that maybe I have that extra space to do something with. I do kind of feel like I made my skull a little smaller than I would like in proportion to this canvas. Again, that's okay. I said err on small. You can always make it bigger. And you'll notice when I come around and do my background color next, I'm probably just going to leave a little extra room around the edge, and that'll be a quick way for me to make the skull shape a little bit bigger and fix that issue that I have with it. So, background color. You can do whatever you want here. Pick a color that goes with your decor, your wall, your space, whatever. I do recommend a darker color. That way this skull will really pop because it's light, right? I personally, I'm gonna go for the purple. I just think purple is so fun. It's a Halloween color. It's still beautiful, but it's dark, and it'll give us all the contrast that we want and need. So let me mix that up. We don't have a pre-mixed purple, but we have two colors that make a wonderful purple. I'm switching my big brush, by the way, because I'm going to be covering a big area of my canvas. Make life easy on yourself. Pick the brush in proportion to the size of the paint you're covering up, you're filling in. You know, big area of canvas I got to cover. Let's go big brush, then I'll go fast. So for purple, I want to take this ultramarine blue, which is already a blue that's kind of got a slight hint of purple. It's on the warm shade of the blues. Grab that, and then you want to get this sort of pink color, the permanent rose that came with that collection. And it's still looking pretty blue. Probably going to need a little bit more of the rose color than the blue because the blue is so powerful. There, it's starting to look good, nice and creamy. Maybe a little more. Ooh, maybe that's a little too pink for my taste, so I just got a teeny bit of blue back in. I kind of like it. But I'm going to test it over here and see how much I like it. Ooh, I like it, but I want just a little bit more coverage and a little bit lighter. So I notice how tiny that is, right? Can you see? Teeniest bit of white. White's actually pretty powerful in these acrylic color mixing. Put that in there, maybe a little more of the blue, maybe a little more white. You do not have to be this fussy with your mixing like I am being. White tends to just sort of make things a little more opaque too. I don't know if you can tell, but that purple that we just first mixed up, it's actually pretty transparent, meaning it's showing through a lot of the canvas underneath it. And this is a repurposed, refurbished canvas. I did that last time too. Painting I didn't really like. Took some gesso. That's something you can find at your local art store. It's essentially like chalk in a paint form. I painted it over real quick, let it dry, and voila, I have a new canvas that I can use to paint on. So anyway, we've got a purple. I put a little bit of white. Ooh, look at that. It's pretty much the same color, but I don't know if you can quite tell in the video. It's going on a lot thicker and smoother. So I'm pretty happy with that. I probably should have mixed up more because the biggest annoyance with acrylic paints is that sometimes they dry on you too quick and you'll mix a perfect color up and then it dries and you don't have it anymore, and then you have to mix and mix again to try and match that color, and that's just the worst. So my trick was I dipped into my water a little bit and made it maybe a touch too runny, but I got it really wet with some water drops. That way it'll stay wet and I won't lose it all. So what I'm doing is I'm just going around everywhere other than the skull. But you'll notice, remember how I said that I felt like I made it a little too small? I'm kind of leaving a little bit of space between my skull drawing and the background. That way I can make the skull just a little bit bigger. I have a little more room to work with. And yeah. You do end up doing a little bit of drawing as you're doing this step, but really the only drawing you're doing, like I said, kind of outlining the skull. So kind of half circle here, go down straight a little bit here, kind of a diagonal line there. That's it. That's all the drawing you got to do in this step. And then you just fill it in. Have some fun. Hopefully this is a nice relaxing part of the step. I'll shut up for a minute so you guys can just paint relax and enjoy whichever color you chose to be your background color. So I messed up a little bit. I kind of got a little too much background color over on the left side. Don't like that. I've got my rag here and I just put a little bit of the corner into my water cup. And check this out real quick. I can catch it before it dries. So I just wiped it away. I don't really care if it left a little bit of paint residue there. That's fine. Ooh, that actually gave me a kind of nicer, rounder edge. There's a trick for you. So yeah, don't worry. Mistakes are hardly ever the end. They usually just add an extra element of texture and interest to your painting. You can fix everything with acrylics because it's all about layering. One thing I kind of like to do once I get closer to the chin, after I've got the major sort of outline with my background, is maybe just kind of soften that a little bit. It doesn't need to be so pointy. Maybe even a little bit more. There we go. So now it's kind of a lopped off edge of a triangle there. And that makes more of a true chin shape. So see, you're doing the background color, but you're actually still kind of drawing and fixing your sugar skull in the process. All right. In a minute, I'm gonna have to just make myself stop, even though it's so just nice and relaxing. I feel like going back and forth with the big brush, filling in the background. But at some point, the paint will start catching on itself. It'll start catching on the paint that's already kind of half drying, and it'll create a little bit more texture than I want. I love these brush strokes as they are right now. Brush strokes are not bad. They are your friend. They create visual interest and look interesting. But at some point, like I said, you just have to stop and be willing to let it dry and not overwork it, because then it stays sort of fresh feeling and fun. All right. I think I'm happy with that. Nice kind of purple color. You can do more of a blue purple, more of a red purple, however it looks to you. On my monitor here, it's looking actually very blue. It's funny how the monitor changes colors. In reality, I feel like it's a pretty solid in-between purple, not too pink and not too blue, but we'll see. Once I actually throw this up on YouTube, probably going to change the colors again just slightly because of your monitor. That's okay, because it's not like we're trying to go for some exact color. Just whatever color you want makes you happy. So now we want to let that dry. So part of the reason I have my steps how I do is I try to actually be kind of strategic and organized with them. That's hopefully what I'm giving to you, is a little, you know, behind the scenes, making it easy on you. If you're doing this for the first time at home, you might do all the steps all together or however, and might have a paint part that's wet, all you're trying to add something else to it on top. Well, what I have tried to do is be strategic by doing this here, then distracting us, right, a little bit by doing the background. So that gives these lines time to dry. And now we'll start working in here while this dries, and we kind of keep bouncing back and forth to our different parts of the painting so that we let layers dry before we layer on top of them. Okay. So remember how I said we were going to need some black, but I was going to wait to mix it so it didn't dry on me? This is where I'm going to pour out this raw umber. If you watched my other video, you saw this before. You could skip through this part, but I'll just show you how to make almost black from this that we can use to do some outlining and details. And hey, if you happen to have black paint, black acrylic paint handy, make life easy on yourself, just squirt some out and use it. Skip this part. But the umber is a slight red spectrum there. So I'm going to put some green in it. I just mixed it on top of that yellow because it was mostly dry. I'm picking up a little bit that I didn't realize was still wet, but that's okay. A little blue. The umber, the green, the blue. Nice dark color. And again, if you want to go get pure black, it's not cheating. Go for it. It's the one color that doesn't come with this set. And I want to try to stick to colors from the set so that you don't have to go out and buy a million things. All right. That's going to look black enough for our purposes. All right, so now we get to start having fun with this skull, getting in some detail, really starting to bring it to life. I'm using my smallest brush so that I can do some detail. And the first thing I want to do is the nose. And what I'm going to do, remember I said it's kind of a heart shape? I'm going to go like this, kind of outlining half the heart. And you don't have to do this if you want. If you want to just make a full heart shape, upside down heart shape that is, you can. But I want to see if I can get just a touch more detail to it. I'm going to do half, and then I'm just going to scooch over a little bit before I do the other half so that I'm leaving this little line of white in between. So it's kind of the nostrils. Notice my shapes are not perfect. That is okay. Adds to the charm, or I can fix them later if I feel so called. But that's a good start for the nose. Right. Next, eye sockets. I'm going to kind of start by just outlining the circle shapes that I had. But notice I'm kind of letting my brush make almost square edges sort of as I get to the corners. And I'm going to make it a little bigger. Kind of pull it down there. Almost think like the shape of sunglasses, or you know, like the aviator sunglasses. One of their lenses, kind of what you're wanting here. Oops. Again, no mistakes, just layers, right? I'll come over and I'll clean that up. Fix it with a little white paint afterwards. So yeah, that's kind of what my thought process is for the eye shape. I really don't think you can go wrong here. You can make them circles, you can make them ovals, you can make it egg shapes. I've seen all different kinds for these fun sugar skulls. We're not going for realism. We're going for decorative, fun art. It does not have to be 100% perfect or realistic. Just want to make sure that they look somewhat similar, maybe somewhat the same shape and size. All right, good enough for now. I'm just locking in, as they say. All right, next we want to do the cheeks. Let me show you the trick for the cheeks. See over here? Right where the circle shape we drew meets the square shape we drew. You can draw a line there. Don't go all the way around. We'll do that later because there's a couple more tricks there I want to tell you about. But you just kind of want to pull a little line there. And then, this is what's kind of cool. See how I'm just going to curve it and kind of go down. And I'm meeting the lines, my light yellow lines that I drew for myself before, almost like a little cheater's way to trace. So I knew where the teeth part is. I sort of connect, curve, draw down, and then I'm going right on top of that line I had previously, but I'm going to curve it just a little bit because I think those teeth do curve. Notice my my background paint was so wet over here. Like I said, we're being strategic letting it dry right now, but I messed up by leaning my fingers over. Not a big deal. That's yet again something else I can fix, but I don't want to lose my thought process here. So I'm going to go ahead, draw this line. So see, slight curve. If you go straight, it's not that big of a deal. Don't give yourself a headache. Stick with simple shapes. If it's getting it all hard, you'll be fine. It will still look like a sugar skull. All right, go. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit for a second. Picking up my purple back on my big brush. Kind of trying to just fix real quick that part that I messed up with my fingers. All right, and I'll let that dry. Okay, so our next step with that black or semi-black like we mixed up together is to continue with some of this outlining here. I'm gonna go in here to the teeth and I'm gonna just try to make a little line, sort of following the curve or whatever, you know, however your top and bottom lines were, just create something similar across the middle for those teeth. And I'm finding that I kind of needed to switch to a slightly smaller pointy round brush just to give myself a little more control. I think the one I had there would have been fine when it was brand new, but it was getting a little old, so it wasn't coming to as close of a point. So, you know, just get whichever brushes work best for you. Okay, now I'm gonna just try to figure out what the middle is, probably where this line from those comes down, and then draw straight down there to find the middle of the teeth. And then once you've got that, you can just start drawing lines to make teeth. They get closer together as they go back, more recessed, receding into the mouth. And I can come clean up these lines some more later. Things are pretty messy right now. That's okay. Don't let that discourage you. You're probably have more clean lines than me. I tend to just start messy. But I'm going to come back with some white and clean some stuff up. So right now I'm just sort of want to get a rough drawing in, something to work with. Okay, so we've got eyes, nose, mouth. And now I might define this jaw a little more. Like if I'm happy with it, I basically just outline it. If I find that there's something like over here, maybe this a little too pointy, by outlining it in black, it kind of gives me a chance to fix things that bug me just a little bit, kind of smoothing it a bit. Eventually we're going to outline this whole thing. Okay, now here is a part that may be slightly tricky, but hopefully not too bad. Just, okay, find the sort of upper right corner on this side. We'll do upper left on that side of that eye. Find the upper right and you just go over and up a little, make yourself a little line. Same thing over here. And I'll show you what we're gonna do to get that sugar skull shape. I'm gonna take that, draw down and kind of curve and connect. That gets you that nice defined jawbone. Sounds like I'm doing a makeup tutorial or something. Kind of funny, huh? But yeah, it gets you more of that skull shape if you can kind of draw that slightly curved line coming out from the eyebrows there. Okay, and then if you're happy with that, you just outline the rest of the skull, the circle in the back. This is giving me a chance to kind of fix some parts that maybe weren't as round as I wanted them to be. It also sort of allows me to fix the transition in between the foreground, our subject, and the background. So I'm kind of covering over where the white meets the purple in some ways, which allows me to get rid of some little imperfections. while I create others, of course. I feel like I got the line a little too thick right there. I can try to wipe it. Let's see if I can do anything with this. A little bit, but I am planning to come back with some white to fix some stuff. So I guess what I was gonna say is it's not that big of a deal once again. But yeah, I think we got a pretty solid looking skull now. I might want to come back in here a little bit more, darken this up with a second layer of black, just because my homemade black here went on a little light, a little transparent, a little thin. I don't think I'm going to do too much in the eyes because I'm actually going to probably put some flowers in here. But maybe just a little more black for the outline. And this is your chance too, if you feel like the shape should be maybe a little bit bigger, just by a hair. Okay. So what I think is kind of fun is now I feel like we've done all the hard work and I feel like it just gets fun after this. I'm going to come back with some white, which I find to be really sort of relaxing, clean some stuff up, let that dry, and then it's just decorating. Just decorative after that. So I'm going to switch to my medium brush. I had to rinse it out real good over here. Get some white on it. And now I can cover up. Look at that, even had a touch of black still in it. It just got on my brush, but that's okay if it's a little gray. Yeah, covering up my yellow, my original drawing. Giving me also a chance to sort of adjust and clean up some of my shapes and lines in here. I feel like that did a little too much. So sometimes I'm going back and forth. I have two brushes in hand, you know, a light and a dark, or the foreground, background, whatever I'm working on. But anyway, so I just want to carve that back out because I sort of carved into it a little too much with my white. Over here at this cheekbone, kind of gives me an opportunity to make it a little stronger, more defined. Notice that black hasn't fully dried. That's okay. I'm actually not hating on some of the gray mixture that's happening where the wet black and wet white have met. I think it'll just give it a little more interest and skull-like features. But yeah, just kind of back and forth, black and white, adjusting till I am happy with how my skull is looking. And so much is going to go over top all this that it really doesn't matter. I should probably not be fussing over it. I just kind of want to cover up some of that original yellow. Okay, so as you get a little closer to details, things that maybe you do care a little bit more about their shape being a little more particular, just so that you have more control, probably want to switch back to your small brush, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna try to not only cover up my yellow that I see underneath here, but maybe clean these shapes up just a little bit, kind of get a straighter line there. So just take your time, clean up anything that's bugging you. Make sure you're happy with your skull before we start decorating it. And here's a step that you may not need to do if you're more of a detailed perfectionist right from the get-go and you did the step really good the first time. But if you're like me, I need to come back in here and clean my teeth up a little bit. That got kind of messy down here. So really I'm just taking my smallest brush with some white on it, going over, making little kind of tiny rectangles in each little spot that I had partitioned off earlier. That's looking pretty decent. Might have just a little too thick of a black line down here. Maybe I want to make some of these teeth a little bit longer. Kind of makes them creepier too. Well, now that makes me feel like I better do the same thing to the top. Gotta clean out my brush, get the white off of it, go back to a little black, and maybe come back with the line work a little more where I messed it up. I just feel like painting is always just this push and pull, layering on and off darks, lights, back, forth, till it looks good. Okay. I think we've got a pretty good skull. All right, so now we've got a lot we just did with both the white color and the black. So we really probably need to let that dry before we layer anything else onto it. So we're not gonna start decorating the skull just yet. However, we can start putting some fun stuff in the background while we let that dry. This can really be whatever you want. I'll just do a few fun things. Feel free to follow along and do the same, or create your own version, how you want to do it. Maybe yours doesn't have room for anything at the bottom, and that's totally fine too. Maybe I'd do these little flourishes. I don't know, it's going to be a feather or leaf type of situation down here. But I'm just essentially just drawing, outlining, playing around with the white on my brush. Partially because with the white, if I don't like it, I can just paint purple right back on top of it. Get rid of it. Okay, so you can kind of tap, 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 kind of get a feel for if everything within the skull is dry enough. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry, but just sort of dry enough that, you know, the paint's not coming off on your fingertips when you sort of tap it. It'll be still probably cold if it's a little bit wet. It'll still be a little bit sort of tacky, but as long as it's not fully coming off on your fingers, you should be fine. If not though, if it's, you know, maybe it's really humid out, or where you're painting is really cold weather makes it take longer to dry too. If it needs more time to dry, maybe this is a great spot for an intermission, or going to get the hair dryer, doing the hair dryer across it to help it dry. Or if you're with friends, yeah, take a minute to stop and refill drinks and chit chat for a second to let it dry. And then we'll come back and we'll be doing details and fun flourishes and designs on the inside of the skull. I think that we did the hard work and now it's time to do the fun part. Okay, so when you're ready, small brush, I cleaned it out pretty good, and I am starting with the blue color, the cerulean blue. Can you see that? I like it. It's a pretty light blue. You can mix up a color if you want. You can, you know, get your favorite color, do whatever color you like here. And I'll show you what I'm going to start doing to sort of decorate my sugar skull here. First, let's see. By the way, if you ever have issues with like it being too clumpy on your brush, if you take it over here and just sort of roll it on your palette, that's what I was doing, that gets the excess paint off and helps it come to a nice little tip there at the edge of your brush. All right, so now I think I got some good detail paint on my brush here. And I'm gonna start by outlining this sort of heart-shaped nose, nostril shape. I wanted to have it come down here. You don't have to do this. If you think it would actually look better all black in the middle, like a full upside down heart shape, you absolutely can do that. I'm kind of on the fence right now. I'm tempted to fill it in with the black, but I'm not sure. Kind of like the line down the middle too. I put the white in there so that my blue would show up a little better there. That white line I meant anyway. Okay. I'll probably come back and fix that with a little black later, but for now, I'm moving along. Now I kind of want to outline the eye areas. Dipping my brush in just a little bit of water too. Keeps the paint moving and flowing. right. So outline the eyes, nose. Next, what I've seen on a lot of these sugar skulls is outlining the teeth and outlining them in such a way that it really kind of emphasizes the skull nature of the teeth there. So I'm doing these little upside down U shapes on top of each tooth, sort of like scallops, right? But just think of them as little half circles, little upside down U's, if that helps you do it. So now I am doing U shapes here at the bottom part of the teeth. All right, I think that's good. Look at it, he's coming together. Starting to give all those fun Day of the Dead vibes. All right, I really like this blue color, so I want to use it for a couple other things. You certainly don't have to if it's not something you want to do. You can move on to a different color if there's something you want to do for decoration. But something I saw that I thought looked kind of cute. Put a couple little hearts over here on the cheekbones. All sort of sideways hearts. Starting to be kind of creepy, so I want to maybe be a little cute again with those. Totally optional though. There are some spots that I thought, oh, it'd look cool. Some dots. I've seen that on the sugar skulls a lot too. Just some little dot motifs. Kind of went big to small there. You can do this however you want. All right, I'm cleaning my small brush out. And now I want some yellow. Again, you can do whatever color you want. So first thing I want to do with the yellow is I want to make some little sort of like dots or scallops around the blue, around the eye. I've seen that a lot. So the eyes often have two colors, sort of one that outlines the eye cavity there, and then another one that makes it kind of fun and pretty. I'm doing very similar shapes to what I did around the teeth, sort of like upside down U shapes, kind of letting them be filled in though. So they become little sort of half circles or scallops. Kind of has that marigold color too that is perfect. I guess that's a little more orange, but still. This cad yellow is kind of a slightly orangish yellow. Makes it show up. This particular paint set, if you're using the same one as me though, there's also a lemon yellow. You could totally use that instead if you wanted an even lighter and slightly more green shade yellow. All right, now to the other side. My blue, the outlining blue that I did over here is still a little wet, so I'm trying to be careful to not get my brush too much on top of it, because when I do, the yellow's mixing into it just a little bit, creating a little bit of green. Not what I'm planning for. But if it's just here and there, it's not that big of a deal. Right, I'm liking that around the eyes. All right, so something else that I saw on one of them that I liked was a little star shape down here, kind of four-pointed star, which I'm kind of started by making like the top of an arrow, but a quick trick you could do is if you just make like a plus sign here, in whichever color you want, if you want to do this little four-pointed star, and then you just sort of connect the points and curve them a little bit. It gets you a nice four-pointed star. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, just looking at it, trying to decide where else do I want to put the yellow. I think I do want to put it over here on the nose too. So the nose sort of ties in with the eyes in that sense, that they both have the blue and then the yellow. I'm just going to do a quick outline here though. Oop, got a little too much. Oh, good. Dry enough I could just wipe it off with my finger a little bit. Oh yeah, see, the yellow's going on top of some of the blue, making it look a little green. I might come back with some more blue and fix that later, but that's okay. Like I said, push and pull of painting. I put some on, and then I gotta take some away, and put some on, take some away. Just, you know, wherever, however I feel like it needs it. Well, now that I have that yellow around the nose, I feel like the teeth need it some too, right? But I don't want to do the exact same thing. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm just going to do some more of the dots. Oh, and you know what I saw in one that I thought was kind of fun was almost like mustache lines. Watch, little S curves. It's subtle, but it's fun. Nothing you have to do, just an idea if you like it. Yeah, he's starting to come together. I'm cleaning my brush out, and I'm actually real quick grabbing some of the black we mixed up just to fix this right here now that the blue's dried a little more, because it bugged me that I sort of overdid it. Covered up too much of that line. Okay, that's looking better. Yay! Okay. We definitely should be at a point now where this black in the middle of the eyes is fully dry. And I know, personally anyway, that I want to do some flowers in there. don't have to. Sometimes they just have the black cavity there showing through. So think about it for a second and decide if that's something you want to do. If you are leaving it black, I kind of recommend now doing a second pass on your black, because see, I don't know if yours is like mine, but mine went on pretty thin, kind of showed a lot of the background stuff underneath it. Doesn't look fully dark black. So I would either do a second coat of black, or follow along with me if you like. I have cleaned out my small brush really well. You got to just swirl it around that water in between colors, right? I'm coming back with white so that all I have to worry about is the shape and size, and I'm not thinking about color yet. And I want to do some flowers in here, so I'm going to start with white dots in the center of the eyeball. Ariel. And then for flowers, I'm going to put little petals around. All I'm really doing is like almost like ovals or egg shapes. Egg shapes. But sometimes I kind of let the shape come to a little bit of a point at the end, like the way a flower petal would be. Obviously, I'm not worried about perfection here. I'm doing impressionism, really, I suppose, because even my dot in the middle is not a circle. There you go. Okay, so just make little egg shapes or ovals, point them a little bit if you want. Oop, got a little too much white on my brush. I had to go take it back to the palette, roll it around so I wouldn't have a clump on the edge of my brush. I haven't decided what color I want to do these flowers or colors, but that's fine. I kind of just want to get the shapes in first, and then we'll let that white dry before we put color on top of it. And again, this just helps it stand out. When you're doing a light on top of a dark, you probably either need to mix white into the color you're making, or just do what I'm doing, because I find this easier. My brain only has to think about one thing at a time. You know, size and shapes first, color later. You just kind of get the shape in first with the white. All right, I'm happy with that. Well, I have white on my brush though. I see some teeth that I kind of wanted to fix. This is what ends up happening. I have a color on my brush and I see other things that could use the second pass. So that's not a real step. That's just if you're like me and you feel like you need it. Okay. Yeah. Might separate these guys a little bit more again. Kind of don't like that I let my colors touch there. All right, I'm just being picky right now, touching on things, fixing things. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry. And one area that I see that I think is really fun is up here in the skull shape. I always see some beautiful floral area on the forehead, something just really beautiful and cool. You can do absolutely whatever you want there, of course. Maybe Google it, get some ideas. But I think I'm gonna do a rose, so I'm gonna mix up some pink. Just to make life easier on myself. Switching back to my medium brush, I'm gonna get some of that, what is it? Permanent rose, I believe. Yes, the permanent rose. I might have accidentally called it permanent red in a previous video, but it's the permanent rose color that comes in the set. It's gorgeous as it is. I am gonna put just a tiny bit of white into mine. I just wanted a slightly lighter pink. There you go. And I mixed it with my medium brush, but now I'm switching back to my small brush. And then let me show you a little trick for a rose. They are not the easiest things in the world, but you can get the effect. You can be an impressionist and get the idea. So I kind of just did a couple little swirls or twirls, little C shapes next to each other. Now I made another one and another one. And then this one, notice they're getting a little bit bigger as I go out. And then down here at the bottom of the rose, I'm going to do kind of like this sort of a thing, like another almost petal shape or, you know, slightly pointed egg oval shape. And then another one over here. And then it looks a little more like a rose bud, like it has that, you know, thicker bottom petal. And then that makes me think we need to have more here. And now they're getting bigger, my shapes, as I'm going outwards. They're no particular shape here. I'm not doing squares, ovals, circles, really. If anything, they're just kind of wobbly, little triangle-like shapes. But just kind of giving the effect of some rose petals. All right, and that's it. I'm happy with mine. If you want to add more or you hate it, you want to start over, that's fine. Worst thing that can happen is you hate it and you either wipe it off real quick with a rag if you can catch it while it's still wet, or give it 5 minutes to dry and then take your white paint, go back over the forehead, give yourself a clean slate, then let that dry and then start again, doing whatever shape you would like. I do love this pink color though, so I think there's some other places I can use it. I think maybe some like fun eyebrow shapes. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I feel like that mustache one didn't even really show up, so I actually am gonna add some pink to where I did my yellow for this. Switching to a smallish medium brush. You can use whichever brush you want, but I wanted something small but not the smallest for this next part, and I just now want to kind of give a little hint of some leaves here, and I'll show you how you can kind of do that. I make kind of a curve like that and then just kind of fill it in a little bit, and that sort of makes it look like a leaf. On the top I can do sort of the same thing. I'm going to leave a little space in between there, if that makes sense. Kind of makes that look like a full leaf. Over here and do something similar. These don't have to be the same or symmetrical. Just, you know, give it a little something. And maybe a couple little dots. And this thing down here, I think I'm going to make it kind of leaves. So I have the white that kind of will help things show up, especially green being sort of already a darker color, by having the white line underneath it. Kind of helps it show up a little bit better. That's just, again, this can be whatever you want. now I'm just looking for little details, things I want to adjust or fix. I'll come back and try and do something fun with those stars. Off camera for a second, I put some pink outline on that just to make it pop out a bit more. I like this pink, so I think I want to fill in these little hearts on the cheeks with this pink. And now it's time pretty much for our final step to start filling in the color in those flowers in the eyeballs. I'm trying to decide what colors I want to do for that. Liking this pink, so do I want it to be the petals? I don't know, I think that might compete too much with the rose. I think I'm going to make the middle pink. That's what I'm going to do. You can do whatever you want here. Pick your favorite colors. Have fun with it. Yeah, I like that. And a color we haven't used or done yet is orange. I think I'm going to make orange for the petals, and that'll really give that marigold feel. But before I do that, while I still have some pink on my brush, because I really like this pink, I think I'm just going to continue the dot motif up and over and across that empty space there on the head. Yeah, I like that. I want to put some in here too. Okay, I'm gonna switch up to an easier brush, a little bit more of a medium again. I'm gonna take some of that permanent rose color, the pink, and just mix it straight into my yellow over here. I had poured some more out because I got a little green in that one. Yeah, liking that. A little goes a long way with the darker color. So if you need an orange and you have a lot of yellow, all you need is a little touch of the pink to add to it. And if you go the other way around, if you've got a lot of pink and you just want to add a little yellow, well, it won't work, and you'll just keep adding dot by dot by dot of yellow over and over, and it'll take all day. So I don't recommend doing that. I recommend squirting out a bit of the lighter color first, scooping it up, the yellow, and then just dot by dot of the pink till you're happy with it. I like it. I like this orange. Okay. That's going to be my petal color. See how it's showing up so nicely. I don't even have to be so perfect about my brush strokes because the part that shows up is the part that's white underneath anyway. I like it. Okay, other side. Hey, looking good. Voila! I'm gonna just put this on top of these stars over here for now, till I decide what exactly I want to do with them. Yeah, there you have it. I mean, that's really most of the main steps you need anyway. I think it's looking really fun. I don't think I want to do too much more to the skull. I think that would, take away from things at this point. I think it looks good. Maybe a couple little dots of the orange here or something, You find little spaces that you're like, oh, it needs something. But that's all completely subjective. That's all up to you. I hope that I've given you the steps and the tools to be enabled to take this on and make it your own, make it however you want. I'm going to probably come back just on my own time, maybe add some more of the background, just sort of make it fun. Maybe I'll show you guys that a little later. But as far as this YouTube video is concerned, it's done. These are all the steps. You're done. Just have fun with it. And I hope you enjoyed painting with me today. Again, this is a private paint party on YouTube, and we're new and starting out. And thank you so much for painting with me today. Take care.